Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2018 science fiction film 2050. Now, even though this is a 2018 film, it is actually due for release in January 2020, and this film was written by Brian Ackley and directed by Princeton Holt, and it stars Dean Cain, yes, that Dean Cain who played Superman in the TV show, Stormy Mayer, Stephanie Bloom, Devon Fuller, David Vaughan and Hope Blackstock. Now, this is a science fiction film set in the near future, the clue's in the title, and it focuses on a society where you can design and manufacture your own sex bot, essentially, and this is a robot that is fully customized by yourself in every single way, right down to every single detail as to its personality and how it looks and how you want it to act. And then this robot is created, and then you have this sex bot, if you like, to fulfill your every fantasy. Now, this film essentially tells the story of two individuals. One of them at the start of this film has split up with his girlfriend, and he is essentially having a relationship with one of these sex bots to try and fill that void, fill that gap left by his girlfriend. But ultimately he decides he wants to try and win his girlfriend back, so he goes on a path of self-discovery and a bit of a health kick to improve himself physically and spiritually, in the hope that he can become a better person, a better human being, and win his girlfriend back. And the flip side of that is there is another character called Michael, who is his brother-in-law. Basically, he's married to his sister, seemingly quite happily married. They've got children, however married life would apparently seem to be quite dull for him, and it's all very run-of-the-mill, and he's pretty bored, pretty uninspired, and he gets quite fascinated with his brother-in-law Drew's sex bot, and he thinks the whole thing's quite interesting, and he starts experimenting and exploring, and ultimately ends up creating his own sex bot that called Sophia, that essentially he falls in love with, which creates, as you can imagine, a lot of problems. Dean Cain plays a guy called Maxwell, who essentially is the salesman and creator of these sex bots. Right, so what did I think of 2050? Well, I think this, as a science fiction film, I think science fiction, good science fiction, should pose questions and be quite thought-provoking, and this film certainly does that. There might not necessarily be the questions you want it to ask or questions that you're interested in, but it is certainly quite an interesting and thought-provoking film, and it does pose some very, very interesting questions, like how can we be better as human beings or as a person, and it also, I found it interesting for anybody out there who's played the video game Detroit Become Human. They are similar concepts on different paths, if you like, whereas Detroit Become Human kind of deals with slavery. This film 2050 doesn't necessarily deal with slavery, but it feels still quite in its infancy, these robots and things, and who knows where it would lead further down the path. So it raises that question as well, you know, these sex bots being, you know, created to serve people. It's never going to end anywhere good, is it? And I found it quite interesting, the fact that we had two stories running parallel to each other on different ends of the scale, both going in different directions, if you like. So you've got this one story of this guy who wants that human connection back. He wants his girlfriend back. He rejects essentially this sex bot and the robots in general, and he wants to improve himself. And you've got this other guy who becomes unhealthily intrigued and attached to his sex bot Sophia, even though he has a wife and family. So they're both on different paths, both going in different directions, and so it poses a whole different set of questions for each dilemma for these characters, if you like. You could argue at times the film does get a little bit pretentious, a little bit self-indulgent. It pokes and prods in places that aren't overly interesting at times, or you could almost argue it asks too many questions, hence the pretentiousness of it at times. But I actually found it really quite fascinating, this film, at times, and I was quite entertained by it. And I think good science fiction should leave you thinking about it when it finished, and this actually did that for me for the most part. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I thought it was well made, definitely. There were some very good performances here. It gets you thinking. It's been filmed really nice. It's quite stylistic in its approach to its filming. The cinematography is really quite pleasant to watch, and it's an interesting film. I don't think it's for everybody. The subject matter might offend some people potentially. I don't really see why. It certainly didn't me. I thought it was an interesting concept for sure. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Definitely worth checking out. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you found the review useful, and of course I'll see you next time for more reviews on Screen Stars.